And the engines have just been fired to life, as you just heard. Welcome aboard for the TM Master Cup Series, round number 19 of 19 at the Decatur Speedway. My name is Dan Mullen. I'll be doing the play-by-play, and alongside me is the only person in TM Master Cup Series history to have 3 second-place finishes and 0 wins at this track, Lance Andrews. I'd rather like it if you didn't mention that, Funk. Thank you very much. Well, I was running out of lines to say about you every weekend. There's only so much I can say about you. Would you rather have said that you never won a Master Cup Series race ever? Well, I'd rather you left that fact out of it. Actually, now that I think about it, the first thing you said was probably a little bit more. Settled my ego a lot more. Well, as you look over probably the most awesome front straightaway that the Master Cup Series ever comes to, with those really high grandstands and that huge plexiglass dome-like thing to give this a feeling of a tunnel. Of course, the reason that was in sound reverberates off there, and the sound down there is incredible. Oh, absolutely, and not to mention it's the cheapest ticket on the circuit. What is it, like a quarter of the price of the rest of them? So this place always sells out. There you see the infamous first couple of turns, which is where most of the incidents at any Decatur race end up taking place. And then you look down there you see the high-rises, where there's that slight tunnel, the wall jets out a little bit there, and the museum. Fantastic facility. This has evolved over the years. Used to be just a 1.5-mile road course, and now it's 3.5-mile road course. Stretches across former cornfields, of course. The wind is, well, non-existent, which is kind of a good thing, because anyone who knows anything about Decatur knows that there is a dog food plant in the area, and when the wind blows a certain direction, the entire town smells of it. There's the pole-winning car of Ian Cooper, car number 7. And his only start so far this year, his only start of the year, because there is no race after this, other than the All-Star event, which will be on New Year's. That's a couple of months away. Well, the field's about ready to roll away. The pace car is going to lead them around for 2 parade laps, and then we're going to get to the green flag. But first, the starting grid. Setting a new track record of 1 minute 18.714 seconds, Ian Cooper puts car number 7 on the pole. And on his outside is Arto Kekkonen from Finland, who's on the outside pole at Karjala. Row number 2 is Todd Wodarczyk, championship long shot, and former TM Master Cup champion Matt Taylor. Row number 3 is Ryan Araki and Alexis Rainsford. Both of these drivers are championship contenders. Rainsford is the points leader. Row number 4 is Danny Salvin in car number 91. He has most of his victories on road courses. And Gary Edwards, who will be moving over to National Racing to drive the number 8 car. Row 5 is debut driver John Parker Jr., and on his outside is Dale Roswell. Roswell raced against Parker's father, John Sr., here throughout the 80s. Row number 6, Damian Snyder and Scott Stoidler. Both of these cars were very quick in practice. I'd keep an eye on both of them. Row 7 is Lewis Kingston, who is very quick in practice, and also a championship contender, and Austin Magnuson from Canada in the 94. Row 8 is Joseph Howard, 3 times a Master Cup champion, and then the elder of the 2 Rainsford sisters, Rachel, on the outside, still looking for her first victory. Row number 9 is from Japan, Amy Kuroki, and also from Japan, Zelda Ashby in the 55. Row 10, Tom Wetmore brings the Rapid Racing car on the grid for the first time in a long time, so the first time this year actually, and then Ron Roth, who won a Karjala earlier this year. Row number 11 is Anthony Evans, who won at Talladega last year, and then Tony Durbin, the defending TM Master Cup Series champion and also a championship contender. In row number 12 is Johnny Ada in car number 04, another championship contender, and then the former GRL champion from last year, Germany's Franz Redlich in car 65. Row 13 is Brian Sendak, who made a bid for the championship here a couple of years ago, and then Joel Rodriguez from Puerto Rico in car number 86. Row 14 is Sam Morrell, and from Wales, Alan Hodges, who is also a championship contender. Row 15 is last year's Rookie of the Year, Russia's Julia Nosova, and then Canada's Marcus Leonard in the outside. Row 16 is Arla legend Kurt Walker, and then Palmer Styles, who has 2 wins in this racetrack. Right behind him in row 17, Mike Whitmore, who is gunning for Rookie of the Year, and 3 times a Master Cup champion, and looking for a 4th, Leonid Roderick in car number 4. He has a very good chance to do that today. Roderick has 5 wins on this track. Eric Jackson in car 35 heads up row 18, and Stuart Sandoval on the outside. Dan Klesel makes his last start with that team. He'll be driving the Gazelle Racing number 25 car next year. And then on his outside is Ross Peterson, who incidentally won the pole here last year. New England's Leon Kennison heads up row 20. On his outside is Adrian Devereux. And on the final row of the grid is George Dennis from National Racing, who spun off during qualifying, and Stephanie McGlynn, who also spun off during qualifying. Both these drivers are in backup cars. Now, we're going to go through the list of drivers who didn't qualify, and there are a lot of them. Well, we're going to start with Julian Alexander, who drove that black and yellow number 0. There's Edvin Lisko and Esko Cascella, the 2 FinTech cars. Esko was driving Arto Kekkonen's front row winning car at Karjala. David Krikorian failed to qualify for the race. Garth McAllister Jr., Wesley Ellis, Paul Lyons, and look, recently crowned Arla champion Chris Johans failed to put his car on the grid for this race. Tyrone Stanley got a win earlier this year. Colin Evans, he's had a very up and down season to say the least. Todd Bell, Enzo Medina, Derek Jones, who, well, had a little bit of a brain failure. Thank you. Brain failure in the qualifying race. Just went flying through the field and took Tyrone Stanley and Craig Cross and Julian Alexander off the track. Tom Delgado and Justin Brooks, there's a lot of talent in those 2 drivers, and they both didn't make the show. James West, another very talented, very underrated driver, doesn't make the grid. Chris Allen, the driver that was second here last year, had that pretty good battle with Leonid Roderick at the end of the race, but Roderick was able to hold him off because of Allen's inexperience. Cyrus Laterza, Craig Janser, Tom Levin, who was second at Karjala, and Scott Bates, one of the nicest men in the field, does not make the grid. And of course, the last 5 drivers, Tanaka, Duff, Cesnick, Dalton, and Riggs. Duff blew up in the qualifying race, and Riggs, we believe, will be driving for Flair Motorsports next year. Cars are on the track right now as we speak. Ian Cooper and Arto Kekkonen. Not a lot of, well, I don't want to say experience, but I just want to say neither of these 2 drivers have really had much of a Master Cup Series ride at this track lately. Well, Arto's never started here, and Ian Cooper, last start he made here was a couple of years ago. So that could be a bit of a hazard. And another one of the hazards is the turn we're coming up to right now. That could be one of the big stories, Lance. The hill. Of course, the hill. The ever-famous hill turn. Always, right here. This turn they're on right now. Usually causes, or they're coming into it right now, right up here. Usually causes a fair amount of trouble. Leonid Roderick in car number 4. They're going down the hill right now, actually. Coming down the hill is usually a bit of a problem. Now, on it it's more going up the hill. Going up the hill, you're right when you're slowing down. Accelerating isn't so much the problem, except if you mash it too quickly, you shoot up to the outside, you may bump into somebody and take them out. So the hill, just that entire area, is going to be a place we're going to have to watch. Also, I think we're going to have to watch this man, Tony Durbin. Tony is starting about mid-pack-ish. He's really going to have to hustle it towards the front. Also, you got a lot of inexperienced drivers towards the back that could be potential hazards. I'm talking Leon Keniston, George Dennis, Adrian Devereaux, and to a lesser extent, Tom Wetmore and Amy Kuroki. Now, we're on board Wetmore's car right now, car number 50. He's starting about mid-pack, and Kuroki right in front of him in that, like, purple-pink car. Fuchsia car. There we go. That's about time we got going, Dan. About time to go to green, yes.